Okay. Pie charts. Easy enough to make, easy enough to deal with, but they can only tell a simple story. If we wanted to talk about more studios and just those in there, we probably should switch to a different kind of graph. And you could, I don't know what you'd want to do. Something like a bar chart or a column chart would be the way to go, I'd guess. Something like that. Okay. So if you, and again, we could change that to percentages. That's easy enough to do. We could go back and calculate and stuff like that. So that would be that. Now the difference between a bar chart, or this is actually called a column chart. There's something called a bar chart. That's the only difference between those two types of graphs. Which way your bars go. Bar chart is horizontal, column chart, they're vertical. Everything else is the same. Okay. You'd switch to this one when you've got big, long labels. They're easier to do this way. They're easier to see. That'd be the main reason why you'd want to do that. Okay. All right. So let's go on to more complex data. Okay. Yeah. All right. Columns. Other kinds of data. With column bar charts, you can make the story more complex. You can have a much bigger breakdown. You can have breakdowns within groups. So we can tell a more complex story here. So I'm going to go to the census. They have all sorts of data. And the table I want is here in this hyperlink. Okay. I'm looking, and they've collected all this information about households and how they use the internet. And this case, they gave it, it's already in a spreadsheet, so we can just download the spreadsheet. And it should be in a second tab now. Okay, here. All right. Okay. Now, they formatted this because they were trying to get it all on one page and all that sort of stuff, but it makes it hard for me to read stuff. This little cell up here in the upper left-hand corner of the table, right at the top of the row header and to the left of the column headers, if you click on that, that says to select all cells in that sheet, all gazillion of them. And then this should work, I just go clear formats, and then I can make this a little bit bigger. It just makes it a little bit easier for me to look at and deal with. And they turned off the column separators, turned off the lines. Anyway, I can deal with this. Or, if this still bugs you like it's bugging me, copy everything, go to a new sheet, paste just the numbers, not the formatted stuff. And now I'm back to my normal spreadsheet. Okay, I probably should have done that and saved myself messing around with the clear formats. All right. So here's my raw data. What I want is to look at how different income or households with different incomes access the internet. Do rich people do it differently than poor people, however they want to do it? So I'm going to need the total hours that they're on the internet. Well, not that one. Where's the income? Income right here. I need this, right? So I need those rows, and I need the numbers that are in this column, and in this column, and this column, and so on, right? Because Excel, when we create a chart, will do the percentages for me if that's what I want, stuff like that. So I'm just going to start hacking away here and take away a bunch of stuff. I don't need any of these rows. So I'll just get rid of all of them. And I can do this blissfully because I know that if I make a big mistake, I've got the original data back on the other sheet, so it'll be an easy matter for me to back up and get that. All right, so I don't need the total, so I can get rid of that column. And again, if you wanted to, you could just copy and paste this stuff. Okay. Now, Okay, my column C here. I don't need that one. And I don't need column E, so I'm just going to, I picked column C, and I go to column E, hit the control and select that. Keep the control key down, go to G, I don't want that one, and I, and K, and M, and O. And so I'm just skipping every other column, like that. So just by holding down the control key, I can pick those columns. All right? And then I can just go into one of those selection areas and say delete, right-click, delete. And it got rid of all of those for me automatically. Okay? And then household income. I don't need this anymore, so I can get rid of that. Here's my column headers. I can just grab that and drag that down. Okay, and now I've got my nice little table. All right? So I spent a few seconds just building this table, a minute maybe, and I'm ready to go. And in here I can just simply go pick a cell in this region, doesn't matter which one, insert. We'll stick with column, and we'll stick with the first type for now. And there's my chart. Okay. And I'm trying, there we go, I can make it bigger. Okay. And that shows the total number of hours by each one of those and stuff like that. Okay. This needs a title. So to put a title in, if there's not one up there to start with, you go to Layout, Chart Title, and just click on that. And generally speaking, you're going to want to have it above the chart. Okay. And then in here, this would be Internet access or something. That's probably, let's see, what would be a good title here? Internet access for 2010, something like that. Okay. It's usually a good, if the date's involved, it's a good idea to throw that in the title. You want that to be as descriptive as possible, but not be a whole paragraph. Anyway, okay? All right, now then, we do need the legend over here because that explains what the blue bar is and the red bar is and all that sort of stuff. So we got to keep that. Over here, we've got all these extra zeros. We don't need those. That's information that's redundant, superfluous. We can get rid of it. You would go to axes. That's the horizontal axis. Nope, I'm sorry, vertical axis. What am I thinking? Then I come down to more. And right in the middle of this dialog box over here where it says display units, you can pick what you want. That happens to be in thousands of hours, so we can just pick thousands. And that gets rid of all those extra zeros. It cleans up the clutter. All right. Now, again, this is not about precision. And nobody really cares if this is like 16,500 or 16 or 17,000. Just so we get a basic impression, the ballpark of this like that. We don't probably need that many numbers on the side, so we can change that by right here. These are called major units, and they're doing it every 2. We can change that to every 4,000, like that. And then if you just click on one of these other options over here, it'll update the chart without leaving this dialog box. So you can use this sort of go back and forth and try out different things. So I'll just do that, and then I can come back to axis options. Okay. All right. So I got rid of a lot of those grid lines, got rid of a lot of the visual clutter, so it makes it, and then people can still get an idea of where the relative size of the numbers are and all that sort of stuff. Okay. So you can play around with this. You can do a lot of things to both each axis. The other thing you might want to do on the other axes. So let's go to the horizontal one for just a second. More. And under alignment, you can do that. If you've got long labels and you still want to leave it in the column format, or you can I always go the wrong way. You can put them like at a 45-degree angle, something like that. Just again, so that clean it up, make it so it's readable. So you can do that sort of stuff with those things. Lastly, if you want, you don't even these grid lines. I'm a strict minimalist when it comes to graphs, and I take away lots of stuff. So if I were making this graph for myself, I might even take away all those grid lines, and I can do that by just coming here and saying grid lines. Those are horizontal ones. Right? Nope, I always get that backwards. Vertical, none. There, okay. But that's a judgment you make for yourself. Do I need a few grid lines? It's not a bad idea. But if you can get away with none, that's even better. Okay. So there's that. All right. Now, some of the power of Excel here. You saw I did this before. I can change chart type very easily. I can just pick that, and I can do that. Now, I may want to do this one on this one because some of those labels are pretty long, and this is an easier way to read those long labels. Okay. If I didn't like that, and there's always the undo feature here, so we can come back, which is nice because I can look at that, I can just go back and forth, and I can decide which one works better for me. Because the thing you want to do when you're looking at this sort of stuff is I'm trying to tell a story with 1 point or 2 points, and I want to make sure that they understand that. And the quicker they understand it, the longer in life they're going to understand it. Okay. All right. So there's also in here, this is broken down by within categories here, right? So this is only people who have only access the internet from home is that cluster of bars over here, right? And then these are people who do it from the internet cafe and so on. So that makes it easy to see within each type the economic or income breakdown. Okay. But it's hard for me to see as a whole how people who make less than $50,000, right? Yeah, less than 50, how they do, because it's the blue bar here, it's this blue bar, and that one and that one. They're scattered across those categories. You can just tell it to switch row and column here, and it'll regroup them the other way around. So now I've got everybody, the low-income people, it makes it easier for you to compare whether they're doing it at home or in the office or an internet cafe. On over here, the higher income people, I can see what their preferred method is. So you can switch back and forth between those two. That's a nice thing. You can also, well, we can leave it that way. The other type of chart in here is this stacked column. Okay. So instead of clusters, you now have a stack. So this is broken down by, in terms of hours watched, people underneath $50,000 in income watch way more or access the internet way more than people who make more than 150. I can see that right away, right? Right here's the top of this bar. Right here's the top of that bar. Okay. Now, inside of each one of these, we can see how they're accessing the internet. So in a strict geometric definition, that's those are percentages. That's like a pie chart, only it happens to be in a bar. Okay. So that's great because now I can see which group accesses the internet the most, which income group. Fine, and then what's inside of that, I can see which it's easy for me to see what their preferred method is, and which ones they don't use very much. So I would say total access would be my main story. How they access the internet is my secondary story. Now, if I was really interested in what's really popular, internet cafe or at work and all that sort of stuff, then again, I could switch the rows and columns here. Okay? And I can look at it this way. And I can see right now the most popular way of accessing the internet is through a combination of home and work. So think about the story that you want to tell. Here's the point I want people to remember. One point, maybe two with this thing. Okay. They've got to be simple stories. And I can just pick what, I've got all these different combinations of switching the rows and columns and these two types of graphs. I can tell lots of different kinds of stories here that people will remember. So it's up to you to decide which one you want to, what's the main story and what's the secondary story and all that stuff. Does that make sense? Okay. So your job back in the original, I'll leave that up here. Back in this, on P2, I want you to go to a different place in the census. That link will take you to this place. And you want the summary table here. And we'll just bring it up and we can talk about it for a second. And it's going to open up another workbook for you. Three states, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania. I want to compare the taxes for those three states. But I don't care about all these taxes. I care about four. Total taxes. It's back on that original sheet. Total taxes, property taxes, sales tax, which are these three rows right here at the top. Those three right there. And then if you scroll way down, this one right here, the total income tax. Okay. Now, one last kink in this. I don't know what happened. But if you look at New York's property taxes, right here, there's an X. It didn't get reported for whatever reason. So when you build your table, replace that X with a 0 and go ahead and make a chart out of it. Okay?